right, today we're going to be reading The Way of the Warrior Kid by Jocko Willink. The Way of the Warrior Kid. Chapter 1 The Worst Year. Tomorrow is the last day of school, and I can't wait for it to be over. This has been the worst year ever. The bad part is that I don't even see how next year is going to be any better at all. 5th grade was horrible. I'm afraid 6th grade will be even worse. Why was it so bad? Where do I begin? The top 5 reasons 5th grade was horrible. Number 1, it's school. I'm sitting at a desk all day. Number 2, I learned that I'm dumb. That's right. All the other grades I thought I was smart, but this year was a failure. I still don't know my times tables. How the heck am I going to make it through next year? School lunches, number 3. They call it pizza, but I have no idea why. Since when does a piece of white bread count as pizza crust? Number 4, gym class. Most people like gym, but at my school we have tests, and I completely stink, especially at pull-ups. Guess how many pull-ups I can do? 0. I can do 0 pull-ups. I'm a disgrace. I'm a disgrace to all 10-year-olds, and the whole class knows it, even the girls, especially the girls that can do more pull-ups than me. Number 5, field trips. Just like gym class, most kids like field trips. Well, we go to one place for our field trips, and that's called Mount Tom. We go there in the fall before it gets too cold, and in the spring when it starts to get warm. But here's the thing, Mount Tom isn't a mountain, it's a lake. And here's the problem, I can't swim. I hit it pretty well during our fall trip, but this spring kids noticed. Why don't you come out in the water? Why are you staying all on the beach? Why don't you jump off the diving board? What kind of person can't swim? Me. That's what kind of person. I know I said 5, but there's one more, and it's probably the biggest reason. Kenny Williamson. He's big and he's mean, and he rules the jungle gym. He even calls himself King of the Jungle Gym, or King Kenny. If any other kids want to play on the jungle gym, they either have to be friends with Kenny or follow his rules. All the teachers talk about my school being bully free. We even had a no bully day where we talked about bullying and how bad it was, and how we should tell the teachers if we ever saw it happening. Well, let me tell you, Kenny is definitely a bully, and he's definitely at my school, and no one says anything to the teachers about it. And those are the top 5 reasons that 5th grade was horrible, and 6th grade isn't going to be any better. I can't wait for school to be over tomorrow so that the suffering can stop and summer can start. This summer is going to be awesome. Yeah, this cool thing is that I won't have to be in school, but something even cooler is happening. My Uncle Jake is coming to stay with us for the whole summer. He's been a Navy SEAL for 8 years and is getting out of Navy to go to college. Before he goes to school, he's going to stay with us at my house the whole summer. A Navy SEAL for real at my house. Uncle Jake is the best. First, he's super cool because he's a Navy SEAL, and he fought in real wars. And my mom says that he was on the front lines, and that means he was face to face with the bad guys. What Uncle Jake is awesome. Another reason Uncle Jake is awesome is because he's the complete opposite of me. I'm weak and he's strong. I'm dumb, he's smart. I can't swim, and he can swim with a backpack on. I'm scared of bullies, and bullies are scared of him. Anyway, I haven't spent too much time with Uncle Jake because we live in California, and he's been stationed in Virginia for a long time. I hope he doesn't think I'm a dumb wimp. And if he thinks I'm a dumb wimp, maybe he won't even hang around with me. Maybe he won't even notice. Of course he will. He's a tough guy and I'm a dork. Well, I guess we'll find out soon. Chapter 2, The Worst Day. Today was the absolute worst day of my life. I know the last day of school is supposed to be fun, but to me, let me tell you, it was miserable, horrible, awful, and terrible. How could that be? Where do I start? Well, first it was sports day, which is supposed to be fun. It means we're all out at recess area in the morning playing a bunch of games and challenges and stuff. Not just like soccer and basketball, but also things like 3-legged races, bobbing for apples, potato sack races. We would do each activity for a while until we were told to rotate by the teachers. And then we would go on to the next activity. At first it wasn't so bad. No one was taking it seriously, and everyone was just kind of having fun. That meant no one really noticed how lame I was at all these different sports and games, especially because Fred Turner was in my group, and he's even worse than me at everything, so it wasn't that bad. Until pull up time. That's right, one of the activities we were doing was pull ups and push ups and stuff on the jungle gym with everyone watching. So I didn't want any smart, so I did what any smart, weak kid would do. I hid. I went to the back of the line and just kind of blended in. And when the other kids would jump up on the pull up bar, everyone would count for them. Mike Swear Engine did 18. Billy Hacker did 22. Jennifer Phillips, who does gymnastics, did 27. And there I was, standing in the back, watching and hiding and waiting for the end. Then it was then it was King of the Jungle Gym, Kenny Williamson's turn. He went up and did 11, which is actually pretty good when you consider how huge he is. He didn't seem to care until someone yelled at him from the crowd, "He's not as strong as he looks." And then there was some laughter, and I saw Kenny getting madder and madder. He wasn't sure what to do until he saw me looking at him, and then our eyes locked. He slowly raised his finger and pointed it straight at me. "What about him?" Kenny barked. The crowd suddenly got quiet as Kenny stood pointing at me. "He hasn't done any yet. Let's see what Mark can do." This was pure evil. Kenny knew very well that I couldn't do any pull ups. He had seen me at the gym class trying to do one for the last year and failing every time. I shrank further back into the crowd. "Come on, Mark. Get up here," Kenny yelled. At that moment, someone shoved me from behind, forcing me out of the pack and into the open, and I couldn't hide any more. Mr. McGuire, the teacher in charge of this activity, turned to me and said, "Have you gone yet, Mark?" he asked. "No, Mr. McGuire. I'm tired, and I'll think of some kind of excuse. I'm sick." But it, but that didn't work because I'd been doing all the other games. I got hurt. But how could I get hurt watching people do pull-ups? The dog ate my pull-ups? Mm-mm. "Then jump up there, Mark," said Mr. McGuire with a stern but encouraging look. "Let's see what you got." "Okay," I said slowly, made my way to the pull-up bar, and the entire crowd was staring right at me. All I saw were eyes everywhere. "Go ahead, Mark. Get up there." "Yeah," shouted Kenny. "Let's see what you got." I finally got up to the pull-up bar and looked at it, and I wished so hard that one time I could do pull-ups. Or I could just disappear, one of the two. "Come on, Mark, let's go," said Mr. McGuire. "Yeah, Mark, let's go," added Kenny, mocking Mr. McGuire. The crowd became completely quiet. As I reached up, I bent my legs, jumped up, grabbed the bar, and I hung there. And I started to pull, and nothing happened. I pulled harder and harder, and nothing happened. I wiggled my body around, and nothing happened. Finally, with all the might, I pulled as hard as I have ever pulled in anything in my whole entire life, and I went about 2 inches and stopped. I pulled more, but slowly, but I didn't move any higher. Slowly, gravity brought me back down, and I dropped off the bar. "Zero," Kenny yelled at the top of his lungs. A big fat zero. The crowd joined in. "Zero, zero," and I hung my head and tried to become invisible. All right," Mr. McGuire said, trying to quiet the crowd. "Not everyone can do a pull up." And then from the back of the crowd, someone blurted out, "He can't swim either." Everyone laughed. Even though I knew not being able to do pull ups and not being able to swim didn't make me a bad person, I had had enough. I could feel the tears building up in my eyes, and I didn't want anyone to see me cry. So I ran off to the recess field, through the courtyard and behind the library where no one ever goes. And I sat down, and that was it. I cried like a baby. And that was my last day of school. Chapter 3, The Beginning of Summer. "What's wrong?" my mom asked as I sat at the table eating breakfast. After yesterday, it was hard to even pretend to be happy, but I tried. "Nothing, I'm fine," I told her with a forced smile. "Come on, Mark, what's bothering you?" That's it. The thing that's the thing with my mom. She understands enough to know that I'm not happy, but even if I told her what was wrong, she couldn't do anything about it. She couldn't make me stronger. She couldn't make Kenny Williamson leave me alone. So what's the point of telling her what was wrong? If I did, she would say something like, "Well, that boy is just jealous because you're smarter than he is," or "You'll get stronger when you get a little older," or "Don't worry about what other people say because I know how very special you are." Well, I know my mom means well here, and the fact of the matter is, Kenny Williamson is not jealous of me. It doesn't matter if I get stronger when I'm older because I'm weak now, And of course, my mom thinks I'm special. She's my mom. So seriously, there was no point in telling me what the real problem was, or what was really me telling her what was really wrong. I'm just going to miss my friends over the summer, I told her. Aw, she answered. Well, you can make sure you get to play a lot with this summer. Well, thanks, Mom, I told her, hoping she would just leave me alone. My mom's really nice, but she works at a ton, and she's always at her office, and a lot of the time it seems she just doesn't really understand me. That's okay. I know she's trying to be nice. My my dad is nice too, but he's gone most of the time, traveling for his job and stuff. I'll tell you what, she said. Your Uncle Jake arrives in about an hour. Do you want to come pick him up with me? Yeah, I shouted. I'd forgotten the exact day that Uncle Jake was supposed to get here, but now I remembered it was today. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay then, she said, clear the table and we'll head out. After I cleaned the table, we got into the car and headed to the airport. I was excited about Uncle Jake coming, but I was also kind of nervous. He's a Navy SEAL, an official tough guy, and not tough like the guys in the movies that just act tough. Uncle Jake is the real deal. So even though we probably won't get to hang around much with me, or at least I won't get to, I'll get to see him a little. At the airport, we parked the car and headed to the terminal to pick him up. I stood there looking through the glass as the passengers came down the hallway. There were a bunch of families and businessmen and college students and a bunch of other regular looking people arriving and walking from their planes. And then I saw him. He was walking at a steady pace right toward us. He seemed to know where he was going, and he had a very serious look on his face. He looked strong. He was wearing a short sleeved shirt and his arms were big. With all the other people seemed to be thinking about themselves, Uncle Jake was slowly looking around, scanning the whole area. And then he saw my mom and me. His head looked in our position, and we waved. Suddenly, his serious face cracked. He let out a big smile and waved back at us. Awesome, he walked through the door and came over to us. He hugged my mom and said, "How you been doing, big sister?" Which was funny because he was a lot bigger than she was. Then he looked at me and held out his hand and said, "Hey, little man." I shook his hand. His hand was different. It was big and strong and rough, and it felt like leather more than skin. "Is that all you got?" he said. "What?" I replied, not entirely sure what he was talking about. "That handshake. Is that as hard as you can squeeze?" I squeezed harder. "Better," said Uncle Jake. "We'll work on that." "Okay," I replied. "Cool. We're going to work on that. That means we're going to work together. So I guess we do some stuff together, Mom." We made our way over to the baggage claim, and Uncle Jake could get his bags. He had one green army backpack and another camouflage duffel bag. He threw the duffel bag on the ground in front of me. "You carry that, it'll make you stronger," he said with a smile on his face. "No problem," I told him, happy to be able to carry a really cool looking army bag. And I picked it up and it was heavy. And I put it over my shoulder and we started to walk back to the car. This was awesome. Uncle Jake is tough, but he isn't just tough, he's also cool and nice. This is going to be the best summer ever. Well, today was awesome, and this is chapter 4. Chapter 4, roommates. Well, today was awesome, and then terrible, and then I think awesome again. When we got home, I realized Uncle Jake was staying in my room. We were going to be roommates for the whole summer. My mom had a little fold-out guest bed that she put in my room for me. The mattress is thin and kind of uncomfortable, but I didn't care. Uncle Jake is using my bed for the summer, so we got it all figured out, and Uncle Jake put some of his stuff in my drawers and some other stuff in my closet. Then when we went down and ate dinner. During dinner, my mom asked Uncle Jake a bunch of questions about everything. He's been in the SEAL teams for 8 years, and he told her about a bunch of cool things that he had done. There are all kinds of things that any kid would love to do, like parachuting, scuba diving, rappelling in helicopters, and blowing things up with explosives all the time. He also talked about being in war. He said the hard part wasn't the missions or carrying all the gear or being afraid. He said the hard part were the times where his friends got hurt. After dinner, we went upstairs to get squared away. That's Uncle Jake's term. So we squared away my room before it got too late. This is when things got bad. Uncle Jake asked me what I was doing for the next day. "Are you going to meet some of your friends, go play some basketball or soccer or something?" "I'm not into sports," I told him. "You don't have to be good to have fun." "Well, it's not really fun when you're not good," I answered, already feeling like a big wimp. "Okay." How about swim? There's got to be some place to go swimming around here, right? When he said that, I suddenly felt terrible. Here I was with my own uncle wanting to go swimming with me, but I couldn't because I didn't even know how to swim. I felt like I didn't even deserve him as an uncle, and tears suddenly welled up in my eyes, and I blurted out, "I can't swim." "What do you mean you can't swim?" he asked. "I mean I can't swim." "At all?" he answered me. "At all, I can't swim," I said. And then all of a sudden I burst into tears. Tears started streaming out of my face, and then I told him everything that I didn't tell my mom. Everything. Not only that I can't do pull-ups, and I'm probably the weakest kid in school, and the tears started coming down my face. Even though I was looking like a complete baby, I couldn't stop myself from crying or talking. And it's not just that, I don't know my times tables yet. I'm almost 11 years old, and I don't know my times tables. Okay, there's Uncle Jake was trying to tell me something, but I cut him off. I can't believe it, but I butted right in and started talking over him. And the worst part is, I get bullied almost every day. I have to deal with Kenny Williamson. He tells me what to do. "Who's Kenny Williamson?" asked Uncle Jake. "A teacher?" "No," I shouted. "He's a kid, a bully." "All right, I get it," Uncle Jake said. "Is that it?" "Is that it? I'm picked on by a bully, made fun of because I can't do pull-ups, and I don't know what 8 times 7 is, and I don't even know how to swim. How can it get worse than that?" I said loudly. "Good," said Uncle Jake. "Good?" I asked. "How the heck is that good?" "It's good because every one of those problems is something that you can change." I'll repeat that. "Good?" I asked. "How the heck is that good?" "It's good because every one of those problems is something that you can change. Every one of them." I didn't know what to say. Here I was, a complete mess, crying over my situation, but Uncle Jake was so calm it made me start to get calm too. "Look, Mark," he said, "when I joined the Navy, I could only do 7 pull-ups. Now I can do 47. I wasn't a great swimmer, and now I can swim like a fish. And I also didn't do that well in school, but when I got into SEAL training, I learned how to learn. I learned how to learn, and ended up doing great on all the academic tests. And finally, when I got into SEAL teams, I knew something about fighting. But now I can handle myself in any situation." "Of course you can. You're a Navy SEAL. You're missing the point." It wasn't like that. I had to work hard for it. I had to learn it. I had to earn it. And what I'm telling you is that instead of being a wimpy kid, you can be a warrior kid. A warrior kid? I wasn't exactly sure what that really meant, but it sounded awesome. "What's a warrior kid?" I asked. "I'll tell you about it tomorrow. You need to go to bed. But I think a warrior kid is exactly what you need to become." Uncle Jake walked out of the door to go downstairs and talk to my mom. Warrior kid. Warrior kid. I like the sound of that. So I lay on my mattress thinking about this as I drifted off to sleep. And that concludes part 1.